Hey guys. Oh man. So I don't know if anybody's going to be on here quite yet. In fact, I highly doubt it. I didn't give any warning, as per usual with my live streams.
Highly doubt it.
Oh boy. I'm going to check to see where stuff is at with this. Oh, we've already got some people. Cool. Awesome. That is good to see. Yeah. So if you're wondering why I'm here, uh, I feel bad about not being able to be up on Observe much with editing a video and stuff like that. So I decided to hang out and kind of chat with you guys. And I don't know, this will give you somewhat more of a chance to be able to, you know, see what's going on, things like that. So it'll be pretty cool. Hey everyone, I'm glad that you are all here. It's going to be nice to be able to hang out. How's everybody's day going so far? Oh, from Puerto Rico. That's what time is it there? I don't know. I'm so terrible with time zones. What time is it in Puerto Rico? Oh, hey, and also Jordan, you're here this time around. That's cool. Yeah, I'm supposed to be working on a project from a client, and I'm waiting on their response to see what kind of music they want in their deal. So from Utah, we've got it's 1:41 or 1:44 a.m. Yeah, see here it's 11:44 in the morning. So that's pretty interesting. From Israel, nice to see you here from Israel. That's kind of cool. How's everybody's day been so far? At what age started you observe the world? Ooh, question starting off right off the bat. In Portugal, it's 6:44 p.m. Wow, different times everywhere. See, I don't know, I've only been up for a little short time because it's my day off from work, so who wants to get up? How's the move going? It's going pretty well. We've got just a little bit of stuff at the other place, and then we're completely moved out of there, which will be a huge relief. The studio is, I don't know, it's not really coming along quite yet, but it's working on it. 6:44 from the UK, still suffering from the heat wave. Yeah, today's not too warm here in the US, or at least where I'm at. I know that it's definitely toasty roasty down where around where Jordan is. Let's see here, 7:45 here. Where can you get this cup? This is my Observe cup. I don't know. I don't know how to best approach this. So far, since I still only have like 11,000 or something like that subscribers, there's not enough people that are really heavily involved in the interest of merch for me to start a merch shop. If it's something that people really do start showing an interest in, then it'll be on there. And I've got if you weren't here before, I put out some stuff with the new Observers logo and stuff like that, so there will be some other stuff coming along with that. How's the book coming along? It is it is going. I am completely changing how it's set up. It's still going to have a large section focused specifically on body language, but I'm also going to dedicate a section to observation and deduction as well, and then finally also just like mentalism as a whole. So that's going to be in there as well. So those are some things that I have planned. Just a second here. What am I drinking, Nick? I am drinking coffee from a Chemex, as a matter of fact, because it's a very good way to make your coffee. And then, is it okay to move your mind palace, and how would you do that? So, are you saying like switch your mind palace layout kind of thing? It is okay to do that. The biggest issue is that then you have to go through all of the training to uh, recreate your mind palace, kind of from the ground up. It's a little bit stressful and a little bit overwhelming, but it is what it is. Hey, thank you, Extended Clips. Very, very, very much appreciated, and welcome to the channel. There will be some more regular content coming out. Right now I can't because I am moving, and it's been very, very time consuming. But I have a problem staying motivated to observe and deduce. Any tips? Yes. Um, for me, it got really bad a while ago, earlier this year. If y'all were here earlier this year through the Observe Entertainment days, That was me burning out severely on observe and just how to keep motivated to do that, because not only do you have to stay motivated to like observe and things like that, but then you have to be motivated enough to upload about it. So I get it. I really do get it. Biggest tips that I had was that taking a break is one, it's okay. Everybody is always so stressed about like, oh, I can never take a break. Never will that ever be accepted or anything like that. But take a break. It is fine. During this break, go back to what originally inspired you to begin observing and deducing, and just enjoy that for what it was, like it was in the first days when you first saw it, and it was great. And if you're like, you know what, say for instance, the Sherlock BBC was your original inspiration, and you've seen it like 5 times, that would be me, then try to find something similar to it. And if you can't, just find a book or anything along those lines, and just take your time with it. It will come back around to the inspiration. If you really do have a passion and you have had that passion, let that passion cycle back around, because I guarantee you it will. It just sometimes takes some time. And you don't want to burn yourself out, because that'll ruin everything, and it's a lot less fun that way. Oh, let's see here. Lost motivation. Yes, same. I have plenty of homework watching your other videos. yeah. There's a few videos I upload. I used to upload like just tons, and I realized that I would rather get out more quality than quantity. So you do have some to go through. That's for sure. Let's see here. Hi from Spain. Well, hello there. My mother was born in Spain, so she was born in Madrid, and then promptly moved to Georgia here in the U.S. But technically she was born in Spain, which is kind of cool. When did you get drawn into the world of Sherlock Holmes, and which portrayal was it? Okay, so I originally, back when I started all of this, it wasn't Sherlock Holmes that was the draw-in for me. It was 100% Patrick Jane with The Mentalist. But the first Sherlock Holmes that I saw was the BBC Sherlock, and I thought it was great after I saw it, because my parents actually watched it before I did. And they're like, "Oh, you should watch this. You'd really, really like it. It's kind of right up your alley." And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I don't. I was just really wishy-washy about it." And then I watched it, and I was like, "Okay, so this is good. This is a good show. I really enjoy this show." And then I have enjoyed all of the different representations. I haven't watched many of the older original Sherlock Holmes filmatic representations, but of the newer ones, I've watched the Robert Downey, watched Cumberbatch, and I've watched Elementary. I've watched the Sherlock Holmes movie where he's old with what's his name? I don't know, Magneto, whatever that guy's name is. I shouldn't be blanking on it. He also plays Gandalf, but that's fine. Um, so I've watched all of them, and I've appreciated all of them for different sides of it. If I had to say my favorite, as far as the character himself, I really honestly like Elementary Sherlock a lot, just because of how dynamic his character is. He has emotions and everything like that, but he's also observant. But that's my opinion. The rest of the show has its own issues that I either do or don't agree with. Let's see here. Sherlock, how he just looks so easily tells everything they've done. To an extent, Christian, I suppose, Atkins. Do you know on Sherlock how he just looks at somebody and instantly tells them everything they have done that day? Is that really possible? If so, how? To an extent, yes. If you want like good examples of this, you could watch any of the mentalists that are circulating around. Darren Brown is obviously like the pioneer right now of mentalism. But then also Ben Cardle, him and I have been chatting, and Jordan over at the Art of Deduction has done a stream with him. So they are good examples to look at. Another one that I have just recently gotten really into is Lior Suchard. He is an Israeli mentalist, and he's brilliant. But he has a different take on things that I will be approaching in some videos to see as far as the validity of them. But yes, you can. I don't think it'll be quite the same as quite the same as Sherlock, the BBC representation of it, because that does have to be dramatized to make it, more interesting to watch. But you can get close, and there's both conscious and subconscious observation that goes into this, which definitely going to be making a video on that. So if you're really interested in that, just hold on and I'll get around to it. Let's see here. Do you know Malaysia? Well, if you're talking about the place, I have heard of it. I have never been. If you're talking about something else, then apparently not. Still waiting for Sherlock season 5. I agree with Nick. I don't know if that's happening, but I mean, I can't say whether or not it is or isn't. Let's see. I don't think it will happen. Favorite X-Man? Obviously, it's got to be Logan. Like, just because. But also just because I like the character depth behind who Logan is and how much the character evolved, especially when Hugh took over the role of it. But I really do like the Logan character. If I had to, however, pick a second one, my second favorite would be Nightcrawler. He's very cool, in my opinion. Let's see here. And yes, Ian McKellen, thank you. Thank you. That is the one. Um, and yeah, it is a good movie. I agree, Jordan. A lot of people don't seem to think so, but I thought it was good. Let's see. Do you know where your book will, or when your book will be going up? When it's complete, or where it'll be going up when it's completed. Ooh, so there's a few ways that I want to do this. I've had a company reach out continually for me, asking if I want to publish my book through them, which I might. They've also been like borderline spammy with it, so I'm a little turned off by that. Not real interested in spammy kind of things. But I know for sure I'll get it up on Amazon. I'll try to make some physical copies, and then if by then I have a merch store, then also it'll be up on there for sure. But I don't know. I want to get it up as many places as I can because I don't know. I want to design the book in such a way that it would have been a book that I would have needed and used very well when I started off on this journey of things because there wasn't really one that I could find at the time. It was all just like I had to piece it together through a whole bunch of different books, which I'm still doing, but there's some that are being more specific that I'm appreciating. But I want to make a good book. It's literally going to be called Observe, and then underneath that mentalism, and that'll, like I said, include everything from deduction to body language to like the showmanship side of things, intuition, so on and so forth, all the way through it, completely inclusive. It'll be a little bit longer because of that, but I want to make it to where it's an excellent starting point for you. Because I needed that, and it would have been nice. Let's see. Looking forward to this video. Yeah. What do you think about hypnosis? Okay, so hypnosis is an interesting thing. Um, in the most recent study that I've been working on for the channel here is all centered around intuition and the mind and what it can do that isn't traditionally taught in like psychology or in schools or classes. Um, the stuff that a lot of people would peg as mystic, but I'm trying to explore to see what is mystic and what's actually just ingrained in us and just not allowed to flourish. Because something that is heavily enforced in our culture today as the world has grown up is that uh, you have basically two sides of a coin. There's the one side, which is the logic side, and then there's the other side, which is the intuitive side. And we're taught very, very heavily on the logic side of things, and I am one who tends that way, and we're taught to kind of ignore the intuitive side because there's not an evidence for it, which I am so heavily evidence driven. So this is an interesting and challenging study for me. But hypnosis is one of those things that in the brain, it has the ability to do some things that were not expected. And I know that there are some, and I would be in this group, I feel like there are some instances of genuine hypnosis, but then I feel like there are a good number of instances to where the crowd or the participants are eager to go along with, even though the mentalist or hypnotist is not asking them to do so. So that's going to be more stuff that I'll cover in the actual series itself, but that's kind of my opinion of it. I think there are some parts to it. I do sleep hypnosis at night to be able to sleep better, and it works, but I also know that that's just me being able to breathe and calm down my mind as I breathe and work through stuff. But that, hopefully, that gives an idea. Let's see. Looking for this video. Magneto. Yep. Have I ever gotten to Doctor Who? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very into Doctor Who. Favorite Doctor forever was Tennant. Still like Tennant a lot. Matt is now kind of up there next to him. I like Tennant's darker side. I appreciated that and the weight behind that character. But I did also just like Matt's dynamic. It was cool. It was cool. But yes, I really like Doctor Who, and I'm working on going all the way through from like original Doctor Who all the way to the end, which now we're coming out with Jodie here to see how that works. And I'm interested. I'm very interested to see how that'll go. So let's see. Will there be international shipping for it? I sure hope. If what I'll end up doing is I'll have to select different countries that. What I'll probably have to end up doing is select different countries that will be able to be able to be shipped to. I know that I would love to be able to have it available everywhere, though. That would be nice. I would like to be able to get the book out. Because, I mean, I don't think your location should be able to stop your learning, if you know what I mean. Let's see here. Mr. Holmes, the book was excellent. A slight trick of the mind. Thank you. When you observe body language, you observe cues and interpret meaning from them. What are the basis for these interpretations and what makes you so confident in their validity? Okay, this is actually a good question from Super Victory Lion. When you observe body language, you observe cues and interpret the meaning from them. What are the basis for these interpretations and what makes you so confident in their validity? Okay, so there's two parts for me on how I have the validity of it. The first part is because I've read the books and done the research from the people who originally did the research, like with the actual people, and I take their word for it. But then at the same time, I don't like to settle just taking somebody's word. I like to be able to test things out myself. One of the best ways to be able to do this, that you can feel personally yourself, is if you like do force an expression, like you yourself force an expression, it will inspire the emotions that go along with that expression. So these usually work with the broader ones. So if you make an angry face event, it will actually increase your heart rate and your blood pressure and make you feel a little bit more angry. If you make a happy face, so on and so forth. So that is another way to validate it. But then also being able to observe in context. This makes it to where the cues that you're getting are leading to the actual answer that you believe is there. And if it doesn't, you have to be willing to change what you believe was there. And then, let's see here. Along with that, the most uncomfortable one is just asking. And I don't do that a lot. I don't spend a lot of time just asking people, hey, you're making this face. What are you feeling? You could do that with people that you know. It's very weird to ask people that you don't. But those are kind of the ways that I go about being able to validate what I observe and interpret. And so far, it has gone pretty well for me. So, let's see. Looking forward, that was pretty successful. I was looking for awesome deduction, induction, abduction, showing deduction, actually abduction. Yes, Nova Astral Nexus. You're right. The Sherlockian deduction is closer to abduction. And I agree. I don't personally like using the word deduction because it's inaccurately represented. So whenever I talk about stuff, I talk about making educated conclusions from stuff because that's more what we're doing. But because everybody kind of is on the same page with that and they understand that, hey, or most people understand that this isn't actual deduction most of the time, then I'll still use deduction because that's like just the general term used. So, yes, but excellent observation. Let's see here. How can you practice deduction in everyday life? Oh, I'm not even going to try your name. how can I practice deduction in everyday life? It's well, honestly, the best way that you can practice it, obviously outside of reading, that's more research, but actual practice is to go and not be afraid to be wrong. Um, that's one of the biggest things, is that you can't test it without having somebody to test on, as weird as that sounds. But go out, and if you really want to validate and test what you're seeing and know if it's right and get better at it, is to go out and test it. Observe somebody, and then go up and talk to them and figure out a way to validate your observations. Now, Ben Cardall, he has a couple methods that you could do. Either one, you could be upfront about it and be like, hey, I am an aspiring, you could say deductionist, or you could say mentalist, because more people are going to be familiar with that term. Um, and I made some observations about you. Would it be okay if I, or for practice, because I want to get better, would it be okay if I validated those and check? And you could go about it that way, which is real upfront, and some people might take that as interesting. I could do that way because I could be like, hey, I'm running a YouTube channel. This is for the YouTube channel. I centered around this, and this. I wanted to be able to see if what I saw about you is accurate. Or I'm a new mentalist and I'm working on honing my skills. Is this what is actually true? The other option that you can do, which I feel is a lot safer, not as honest, but a lot safer, is that you could go up and ask or talk about it like you're doing a study, whether for school or for college, one of the two, and be like, hey, I'm doing a social study. Would you mind answering a few questions for me? And then you ask the questions that you would have found your own answers from about observing them, and then validate as you go down. So they never know that you were watching them and paying attention to begin with. So it's not quite true, but it does make it to where everybody feels a lot less awkward, or there's potentially less awkwardness in there. So those are the two ways that you could go about practicing and validating and finding out. Let's see. What is your opinion on how Okay, what is your opinion on how Elementary switched up the characters' genders? Um, I wasn't opposed to it. It didn't. It obviously, as soon as they switched it, it kind of added a disconnect. Not because it was a gender thing, so much as it was just like a character dynamic remodel, so to speak. So, the dynamic between Joan and Sherlock is far different from the dynamic between John and Sherlock, because it's just they just interact differently, and they can. Um, and they have a little bit different personalities because of that. But it's just a dynamic reworking, and I liked it. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, and I'm not gonna like go into the whole Elementary thing, especially if people haven't seen Elementary. I don't want to offer any spoilers or anything like that. But if, in my opinion, if you watch Elementary to be able to really enjoy just the show for the show and not be like, oh, this is so incorrect according to the books, then if you just enjoy the show, you'll enjoy it. Because it's well shot, it's well acted, it's well written, there's great character development, so on and so forth. But if you're like, you know what, I want the classic Sherlock John kind of interaction, it might not be your thing. So just keep that in mind. But I don't know. I thought it was good. I liked it a lot personally. Let's see here. Bum, bum, bum. Ingrained hypnosis has never really caught me. I just want evidence of sorts, really. Yeah, Thomas, with the hypnosis thing, again, evidence would be cool. And that's hopefully what I'll be able to, within all of this study of the intuitive side of mentalism, what I will hopefully be able to provide some with. And it will also be in the book, therefore, as well. All the stuff that has been on the channel, I plan on elaborating on and delving into in the book. So it'll be a larger book, but it should be in there because yeah, I am definitely evidence driven as well. But it's hard. It's hard. In the book that I'm reading now, the gal, she was her dad was like a neurosurgeon. She grew up to be a lawyer, so everything's very evidence-based and logic-based. And so she wanted to go into the same study almost exactly the way that I'm going into it, and she realized that it's hard, it's just hard to put logic into the intuitive side of things. But you'll see. I'll explain more whenever I can. Let's see. If you know, can you explain to me the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning in a way that I can apply it to practice? Tenet is the best, and I have his screwdriver. Okay. Gilberto? Sky? Um, I will be doing a video on that, the differences between the inductive and deductive. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make it more interesting because talking about the terms of logic can be a little bit dry. But yes, I will answer that question. I am not fully prepared to answer it well now. I have a rough idea myself, but not into a position to where I feel like I could be like, yes, here is some solid best advice that you could use for it. But I will answer that. So if you stay tuned on the channel, eventually, it's on my list. I have a huge long list of videos that I have yet to make, so I'm not running out of content. Just in case you're curious, not running out yet, and I don't think I ever will. But yeah, I'll answer that. And also, Tenet is brilliant, but I have Matt's sonic screwdriver, and it is the universal remote. So if you're a Doctor Who fan and you want a really high quality sonic screwdriver from either Matt or Tenet, one of those two, then go and get the universal remote of it because it's going to be very high quality, and also it controls your TV or anything else that runs off infrared. It's cool, but it is like $100 and something, so. Let's see here. Maybe put the book into Play Store or make it available online. Should I make a rule? Yes, I will actually probably be putting it onto most. I want to be able to get it to be readable on mobile, because everybody has their phones, and that would be nice. Obviously, I want to try to get into the Kindle store because you can get Kindle on your phone. Amazon for the full physical copies, and anywhere else that I can. But yeah, online is where I'm going to focus a lot of my efforts for it, and some physical as well, because I still love physical books. They're some of my favorite things, and I've been reading so much more here recently, and I forgot how much I enjoyed the really intense study time of Observe that was there earlier on. So yeah, I will be making it available onto any platform that I possibly can, and obviously there's going to be hoops to jump through for that, but still. Do you think that due to so many actors using unfitting body language during the series influences the body language that people use in their lives during the series? Yeah, okay. That's actually a very interesting one. Because, so, with body language, there's the ingrained, there's the natural, there's the built-in body language, the stuff that you're born with that you didn't learn from anyone. It's literally you're born with it. And then there's the stuff that's cultural. And I feel like now, more than ever before, we are learning different body language because of our exposure to online, to mass media productions kind of thing. So that could be true for a good part. There's definitely that possibility that people are learning body language that's different or possibly incorrect. But then what you have to take into consideration is that's for a specific culture. Because, like, for instance, here in America, we do have our own body language culturally that wouldn't be the same, for instance, over in Israel. Uh, it's not that one is false and one's not, it's just going to be different. So here in America, say, for instance, because we're very media driven here, say everybody's learning all these different weird body language things from watching movies, and maybe the actors get it wrong, but everybody's doing it, and since everybody ends up doing that body language, then the generation that comes from the people that originally learned that, then that generation is suddenly the new cultural norm. So in a way, yes, but then also in another way, no. It's you just have to take into consideration where you are. But that's my opinion on that. It could be, but I also think that in it being so influential, that it would in turn kind of just cycle itself back around to being normal again. But yeah, I hope that answers the question. That's interesting. If you read the book, it's good. Thank you for giving me one answer to the question. Let's see here. Sebastian, mindfulness is so extremely hard to achieve for me. I have been trying for a year, but I am a very distracted individual. How long did it take you to be mindful? That's an interesting thing. I've never been diagnosed with ADHD or ADD or anything like that, so I can't really rely heavily on that. Now I've looked at the stuff online, and the tendencies that I have line up extremely heavily with having ADHD. I've always had trouble focusing. I hated classrooms. I hated school. I hated anything that required me to focus unless I loved it. And then if I loved it, I was extremely obsessive over it. It became everything to me. And all of this, and there was a lot more that went with that. And all of that tended towards me having ADHD. And being mindful and being able to focus is difficult for me still because I'm always just like hyper aware. I get distracted very easily on stuff. And part of what has made it better for me is that I don't necessarily stop that. I'll allow myself to get sidetracked, but use that ability of my mind to be able to just jump continually to pick up on more things wherever it's focused around next to. So if I'm trying to focus on one person, but I get bored focusing on that one person and I start flitting around the rest of the room, then I'll be like, okay, well, I guess we're going to be looking over here now, kind of thing. Because if you're the way that I am, which I feel like you probably are, then it just happens. It's not something where you consciously are like, you know what, I am bored, I'm going to look away now. It's more so like, all right, so I guess I'm done with that kind of thing, and I'm going to go along with the flow. So being mindful can be done in two ways. Either one, you can allow your distraction to give you more information and it'll be more shallow, but there will be more of it. So that's a way you can use it. But then the other way to be able to work on that is to focus down onto things that you have control on. So breathing, things like that. Those are very, very good, and allow those to be the driving anchor for you to be able to keep focused down and honed down to be more mindful of a specific thing. And that's what I have to do. That's just from experience for me. So if that doesn't work for you, I'm really sorry, but that's what worked for me, and that's based off of some psychological um, tendencies and so on. So hopefully that answers your question, though. Okay, let's see. How to do mindfulness meditation. How to do mindfulness meditation. Yes, for both of those, mindfulness meditation. That's based off of that breathing side of things. Deductive reasoning is when each piece in your chain of logic implies for a certain following conclusion that is true. Inductive reasoning is where the conclusion is followed. Yeah, super victory line. That's basically it. Yeah, okay, so with deduction, the outcome is guaranteed to be a certain way. There's no other way. Induction is not quite that way. But like I said, I'll do better later on at explaining it. Thanks for education. Feeling can explain it better in the future. You sir have a subscriber for life. Awesome, Gilbert. I really wish I knew how to pronounce your name. But I'm glad that you're here for life. I'm stuck here for life too. I think a lot of people are stuck here for life. And Observe Hoodie, they'll be coming out. I'm trying. So what I want to do with the hoodies, like the merch in general, is that I don't want it to come across as like super, I don't know, merchy, to where you're like, yeah, see, this is my hoodie that obviously was designed by some person who's never looked at clothing in their lives and is not going to be something to where you can comfortably wear it even outside of just like supporting a channel or something like that. I want to make it to where it's tactfully done. That's why the new logo is so minimalistic in its design. I tried to keep it pretty like toned down, and I'll make some more that are more dynamic and things like that. But I also wanted to make it to where, like, say you wanted to wear, I don't know, say I'm able to get a button down shirt or something like that, and you wanted to wear that, you wouldn't be like, well, I can't wear this to, a formal event because it's covered in this big huge picture of Sherlock Holmes, and people are going to be like, what on earth are you wearing you know a costume thing for? So that's kind of my thought behind it. But as soon as I can come out with this line of merch, then I'll make sure that everybody kind of knows how to get a hold of it and where it's at and things like that. So, but yes, also with the remote, that's cool, and I agree. We would probably be good friends. Let's see here. Hi, Raju, probably. Just dropping in. Interesting room you're in. Instruction looks like an anti-shim guard on the door. Try. Haha. Yeah. So this is technically Tame. Can't do it. I can't pronounce your name. Yeah, this is technically supposed to be like it was originally a carpentry shed, and it's in a part of town that there have been some like homeless people that have gone around and whatnot. So I've got some security back there on the door. The walls are still unfinished. It's just particle board. I'm gonna be putting up this stuff all over the walls to be able to insulate it better and to make the sound quality a little bit better in here. Also make the light more controllable. I don't want a lot of spillover light, which these walls do a lot of spillover. The ceiling, I'm going to put up some different canvas just to keep it cleaner looking. Everything will be black because that's easier to control in a studio. But yeah, so yes, and the floor is poured cement. Although they did a very good job at it, I will say, it's like quite level and excellent. So maybe I'll add a different floor in later on. But yes. Let's see. Interesting. Assuming your logic is sound and you're true deductive reason will only lead you to. Yeah. Yep. Super victory lion. Exactly. It will always lead you to a true conclusion. And that's why a lot of the stuff that happens on Sherlock is not technically deduction, because there's always that possibility that what he's observed and deduced isn't actually true. So that makes it can't be deduction that way. But yeah, though I honestly, a lot of that's just like details and semantics about stuff that I don't. It's not really a fight that a fight that I need to fight or a hill that I'll die on kind of thing. So it's not that big a deal for me. How to observe on thought without judgment. Okay, and how to observe your own thoughts without judgment. I think I see what you're saying. It's hard to do, and it takes a little bit of practice of stepping outside of yourself and understanding where your biases play in, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not biased, and then everybody is always biased to some level, and understanding where that is important to be able to then observe unbiasedly. So self-study is going to be key on that, and then being able to consciously detach yourself from your own personal opinions to be able to make a better judgment. And it's hard, and it just takes practice, and that's the best way that I could think of it. Let's see here. I like my vest too. Thank you. Let's see. Straight black T-shirt, maybe some red color observe written on it. Yeah. With the straight black with some red color observe written on it. Some other ones that I'm thinking are doing the white color, the white glow text that's like on the banner of the channel and things like that as well. And one that was interesting to me, especially for like a coffee mug, because like I love coffee. So the new mug that I'm thinking of designing is going to be matte black, so it's not going to be glossy like this. I want it to be matte black, and then across here will be the observe or observers, depending on what you're in the mood for, um, logo that you'll be able to select through various colors. I know obviously white and red will be in there for sure. Um, Silver will probably be in there because I don't know, I think the black and silver look is cool. That's what my personal business cards look like, or they're just black and silver. Possibly gold. I thought that might be interesting with the lettering. But yeah, so just that simplistic minimalistic style is what I'll be going for with a lot of my merch. Oh boy, hold on. Style, acoustic tiles. Do you think meditating can help me be more present minded? Getting lost in dumb thoughts and memories frustrates me so much, especially because mindfulness is an important part of Sherlock's method. Yeah, actually, it will help. Just that time to calm down and one of the best ways that I can describe it is when you're meditating or you're just doing conscious focusing, is letting thoughts and memories and stuff like that just kind of slide on through. They happen, that's fine, but then just go ahead and let them run along with. The way that it works best for me is that I literally think of them sliding off like a what is in front of me kind of thing. So if I have my eyes closed, then I try to keep it blank, and if something pops up, just literally let it slide off, and that can help focus you back down, and it does calm you down a lot too. Could you use a bounce screen for your spotlight lamp? You could use a bounce screen for your spotlight slash lamp. I could use a bounce screen for it. I've actually got more than enough lighting to be able to not need a bounce screen if I don't need one, or if I don't want to use one. But I definitely could. So yeah, right now I just have like this one studio light turned on, and I didn't do it for any sort of aesthetic reason. It's just because I'm setting up the lighting in here to be a little bit more professional. So the one studio light's on, and it's technically supposed to be my hair light up over by my recording area. But I just wanted some light in here because if I turned it off, it would still work okay in here. It would be just a little bit darker. So yeah, like it's not a huge difference, but so yeah, maybe I'll leave it off. I kind of like it this way better. Let's see here. How has your observation abilities affected your social skills? I'm guessing that it has improved it, but I want to know specifically, especially compared to yourself before you learned these skills. Okay, this is a question that I don't directly apply to very well, but I'll do the best I can. Observation abilities have affected my social skills. Well, it has affected them well. I am able to pick up on a lot more and kind of tailor conversations to go in directions that they need to go rather than just kind of blindly going forward with stuff. So if I'm talking to somebody, I am very aware if they're bored, and I can obviously change it then. And so it's helped getting along with people. It can help with getting people to get along with me if I want them to. But I don't. I tend to not do the manipulative side of the art because I don't know. I just don't really feel the need to. And if somebody's gonna like me, I'd rather them like me for me and not like me because I've kind of just set them up to like me, kind of thing. If you know what I mean. And then how has it affected me before and after? This is the interesting thing. I'm a very different person now than I was before this all started, and it's not because of this. This was kind of based off of this switch. I used to be extremely outgoing and extroverted. I'm not now. I'm very happy to see maybe one or two people every once in a while. I used to like love parties, birthday parties, stuff like that. And I don't now. They're just not fun for me. I even get frustrated with group chats and stuff like that just because there's just, I don't know. It's not my thing. So my social interaction before was just a lot more dynamic and outgoing and social butterfly kind of thing, and now it's not in general. I can be, because I've worked for 9 or 10 years or something like that in customer service related jobs, which kind of forces you to be nice. But um, it has helped me be just more aware of what people are feeling in relation to what I'm saying or doing. So I don't know if that really helped answer your question at all, but hopefully it did. Let's see. Hi, bro. Please tell me that how I can observe someone when there's nothing to observe. There's always something to observe. But I think I see what you're saying. Like when there's not anything to really not anything that sticks out enormously. They just seem to be average. And that there's a couple ways you could get around that. If you're wanting to strictly observe, then try to observe smaller details. There's always going to be something that you can get out of there. And if you're like kind of feeling like a creative block or an observational block to where you can't get further in your observations, or you can't even start in them, try to start more basic and build from there. So if you're looking at somebody, you're like, there's nothing that I can observe about this person because there's just nothing there. Then try to look at things like, well, obviously age will be good. That's something that you can observe and roughly estimate on. Dominant hand you can sometimes observe and estimate on, especially if you observe for long enough. It will always show up some way or another. You can observe possibly their outdoor activity level. Like if they're far more tan, then they probably are going to be a little bit more observationally, or they are going to be a little bit more outdoors driven. If they are quite pale, then you know that they're probably indoors more, whether that's medically or by choice. That's to be determined as well. But there's always stuff you can observe, but starting on those more simplistic things to be able to build off of that will also help your mind get focused in such a way that might open up some other details that you didn't notice before. Let's see. Keeping focused, I have to write lists and stick to them like glue, otherwise I get distracted by shiny things, and the world is full of shiny things, and I end up accomplishing less. Yeah, I have a lot of lists, and either they'll be mental lists to where I have to go through them, or they'll be actual physical lists. Like yesterday, I fully intended on like getting a lot of stuff taken care of around the house and whatnot, and for the first like few hours, I just laid in bed, which was terrible and not needed. Just like watching YouTube, and I think I played some video games, and that was the first part of my morning, which wasn't as productive as I thought it should have been, which is not great, but it ended up after that, I was like, okay, so I should probably get up. And something that can help you with that is having an accountability person, a person that's willing to say, hey, have you done ... today? They can just be aware they can be the most annoying person in your life because they're going to make you do the things that you don't want to, but they can also help you be more productive. Okay. As far as the different forms of reason, if you look at the distortion of an image. Yeah, okay. To go on, have a good dinner. And I hope the stream goes well. I won't delete this one later on. Don't worry. Yeah, more on that. If you keep hearing my phone go off, I'm streaming on my phone because my webcam is just total garbage. Doesn't work at all. So I'm using my phone, and I'm in a group chat. Ironically, everybody's texting me about it, and I don't want it. I don't want all the group texts, but here we are, getting all the group texts. Anyhow, let's see here. Glasses. Jordan, you're doing a great job at handling the discussion between the two different logics and reasonings and things like that. So I'll let you keep continually tackling that while I hit some of these other questions. Let's see here. face. Yeah, the progressive lenses without the hard line are definitely harder to spot. What have you missed? A lot. A lot. You've missed a lot. We've been streaming for almost an hour now. So you'll have to go back and look around to see everything. What about on the screen? You've got a harsh glare on the right hand margin. Yeah, no, I know. The Yeah, no, I get you on that. I wasn't too concerned about the lighting for the stream. Since it's not like something that we're raising money for anything or I'm gonna be pushing out. This is just kind of me hanging out with stuff. I would just kind of was like, you know what? As long as they could see me, I'm golden on that. But for the other things, like Jordan and I plan on doing a stream in the future, another charity stream, and when we do that, then I'll have it more lit and lit. Ooh, I'll have it lighted better and probably do a little bit more with the background or something like that as well, just because that's going to be more of an important thing than just a hangout time, which this is cool. Like, I like being able to just hang out. It's good. It's good, and it makes the day go better for me. Let's see here. Like my leggings. I don't know if you probably saw them at one point. Yeah, I've got my Doctor Who PJs on. So that little thing. So see, Doctor Who PJs. If you have seen my normal videos, funny tidbit here that's now going to be everywhere. I'm rarely wearing like the full outfit. Like I've almost always got either shorts or PJs on. Almost always. And I just put this on because I appreciate the continuity in the videos. Plus, nobody's going to take somebody seriously if they're wearing their PJs. That's a little secret, though. Oh, let's see. Darker color is healthier. Also, I just read 107 pages in the book this one day, and I think I need help. Okay. I don't know if I could help you. Depends on the book that you read 107 pages on. I read about that yesterday in a book that is centered around intuitive detective work. Kind of interesting. Let's see. I just can't find anything to observe on a person. Let's see. Baseline. Okay, so yes, said Hana. Oh, I'm so terrible with the names that aren't like John. So, yeah, no, they're like what's that there? There's always stuff you can observe either around or near them as well. So keep that in mind. Also, yeah, the smartphone is addictive. I mean, stuff from that I do as well. But I also use my smartphone at night to be able to play, like the sleep tracks and things like that. So that's also good. Yep. Yep, it's true. The smartphones are genuinely astounding. They're extremely helpful, but they could also be extremely detrimental as well. But yeah, no, I get you on that for sure. Let's see. Let's see here. Would you say that observing is pointless if you don't have knowledge base to be able to interpret the meaning of your observations? No, no. Observing is not ever going to be pointless. There are times that it's going to be less useful than others, but observing itself in and of itself is always going to be useful for you, even if you just observe and constantly take note of things, even if you don't know what they mean. Observing is always, always crucial, because eventually you will learn what they mean, and then you'll have that background, that wealth of information that you've had before from observing this repeatedly, and it could sort of fill in kind of pieces of a puzzle in retrospect, so to speak. So always observe. It's not, don't be discouraged by what you do and don't know. Always observe. So, like, say for instance, in body language, you don't know what a certain expression means. That doesn't matter. Just as long as you've seen the expression and you know that you've seen it, later on you can find out kind of what it means. And later on you probably will find out what it means if you're constantly observing that way. So don't ever be discouraged by what you do and don't know. Always be willing to observe. Um, does the observations shown in Sherlock all 100% pure and no mock? Because whenever I see that, I feel like it's too much. Like, how is it possible? I see what you're saying. So this is an interesting video, and Jordan and I touch on this a lot. Both him and I agree that it's terrible to watch a Hollywood dramatized version of something in order to use it as education, strictly. Like, for instance, him and I both watched the latest season of Sherlock, not for its educational value, but because it was just a brilliantly shot and acted, uh, I don't know, sequence of episodes. So yes, there are some issues that are had there. Um, like one of the series that I'm going to be putting out here as well, because I'm working on the intuitive series, and then I'm also working on this ring series. Um, and one of the things that I'm pointing out are some flaws in his initial judgment calls on the rings, like just the conditions of them and the, I don't know, the conclusions that he pulls from there, while they make sense in the episode, wouldn't necessarily make sense in real life. Because, for instance, something that I could easily compare it to is that my wife has a ring that's older, um, so it's a little bit dirtier because it was her grandma's ring. So it's an older ring, so it's a little dirtier, but that doesn't mean that she was 12 years adulterer or not happily married with me because her ring was dirty. It just meant that her ring was dirtier. And there's obviously more to the observation that's in the show itself. But yeah, there are some times where what he observes isn't even close to a deduction. It's it's a conclusion, one of many that could have been pulled out. But be careful using shows for inspiration that way. Use them as inspiration, but don't use them as the actual educational knowledge. So if you see a lady with a dirty ring as opposed to the rest of her jewelry, don't automatically assume that she's unhappily married for a number of years. All that you can assume is that her ring is dirtier. But you have to keep track of everything else. Like, for instance, her hands were clean, so that means that her ring probably would have been cleaner, but then that also is just assuming that the ring was new when she had it, or that she didn't feel like, or that the other ones were less new, or something like that. So, context is absolutely crucial in this. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents towards that. For example, you could see somebody's eye twitch, but you have no idea what that tells you about them. And without being able to observe further, there might not be much you can learn about it. Like, for instance, what you could do is you could go, after seeing something like that and you're not sure about it, you could go into some medical journals and do research on what causes eye twitches to be able to get a rough idea as to what might be the case for it. And then if you have an idea of what might be the case for it, then you could, from there on out, actually kind of plug in information and observe to see if anything else lines up with that. So that kind of thing, that's how I always approach stuff that I see that I don't know. So I hope that answers a little bit of questions. Let's see here. Don't worry about it. No one is wearing a full outfit, right? Yeah, I know. I know. Even news anchors almost never wear the full outfit unless it's like the weather guy and he has to stand full body in front. But like the people that are just sitting down, they don't bother wearing the full outfit. I've seen them in shorts and in jeans and stuff like that. So it's funny. So really the observation techniques can be applied to near or distant threat assessments. Yes. Do you have any tips on mind palaces? I have tried your method where you remove color and detail in the room, but I think that just makes it hard to remember because I have to re-render it. Okay, so with that, the tips that I gave are ones that will work for some people. Here's the issue: a mind palace isn't as concrete as what a lot of people would like to believe. And the reason for that is because the mind itself isn't as concrete as a lot of people would like to believe. So, what might work really well for me or for Joe down the street wouldn't work well for you. So, it's just a matter of being able to kind of like push around, um, kind of in the dark almost for a little bit until you discover something that works really, really well for you. And in the end of things, some people the mind palace doesn't work well. Period. No matter what kind of mind palace you try, it doesn't function as well as you would like it to. And then there's some other memory systems that you can use, like the PEG system, which I think Jordan did a video on that. If he hasn't, then I will. And he probably has, and I probably still will, because I'm going to do some stuff on exclusively the mind and some of the funner things that you can do for it. Um, but don't be discouraged by the fact that that doesn't work. So say you need the details in there for you to be able to remember better. Say that's more visually inspiring for you. As long as it doesn't overwhelm you, it's totally fine. If it's overwhelming, like you've got so much detail in there that it's overwhelming you, then that's where you have to cut back a little bit. If you're okay with it, then you're a-okay. So, um, as far as the route itself, if you use that, that is the easiest way to remember information and whatnot and not stress too much about having to re-remember stuff and so on and so forth. Oh man, let's see here. Excuse me, my allergies are terrible. Yes, with the dirt on the ring, it might get some insight. So a little bit here, since a lot of people are interested in the ring videos, I am going to be right now. I'm working on just the video talking about the different styles of rings that there are, and kind of what they can say about a person. Which that only has to come from me. There's not really any external assistance that's needed from that. What I'm going to do for later episodes in the series is that I'm going to talk to jewelers to be able to figure out how does different metal age. How can you tell like a fake gold to a real gold, um, and the various types of different golds and so on and so forth to be able to see if I can get some good professional experienced advice in there as well, because I don't want it to just be my voice on this. I want it to be other people to be able to add some affirmation to things as well, because since this will be a scientific exploration, I want there to be evidence for it as well, so it's not just assumings and things like that. But yes, that's another part of it as well that I'll be covering later on in the episode. Let's see. In your opinion, is Sherlock a sociopath? Many times. I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know about the sociopath side of Sherlock. Technically, yes. He does say that he is a high functioning sociopath, but I don't know. That's going to be my final answer on it. I haven't done a psychological dissection of the BBC Sherlock, mainly because I've got a lot of other just like able content that's able to be practiced that I'm working on right now instead. Later on, I will continue to do stuff about Sherlock centered around that, things like that, but not quite yet. Hey, Grey Wolf Ember, nice to see you here. Thanks for the tip. If you observe a micro expression on someone and see the same expression in someone else, wouldn't it be dangerous to assume and to imply the same thing? Yes, if you're observing a single micro expression and you see it on someone else, and then you try to apply the same rules to each, then yeah, that's a bad idea. Like, it's genuinely just a bad idea, because a single micro expression shouldn't be observed singularly anyways. always requires that there be context. If you're not observing in context, you're definitely observing wrong. And that can be harmful because, like, the one that's always really common is that if a person has their arms folded, and this isn't an expression, this is a gesture, but if they have their arms folded, there's a whole bunch of different reasons that that could be. Um, so if you see that and you're like, oh, that person's sad or upset with the situation, you could be wrong on that particular instance. And then if you see somebody else doing it and you're like, well, this person was upset, so this person must be upset, then you could be wrong on two different instances. So you really have to observe everything in context. So if you see, the flash of a disgust, then, or a flash expression, a micro expression of what you assume is disgust, and you don't have anything else to go along with that, then it could be actually that they have like an actual nervous tic that they can't control, and it does stimulate the same muscles as what disgust would be. Um, so you have to observe that in context, and observe that in context not only within themselves as an entire body, but also in the environment that they're in as well. So observing too little is going to be detrimental as in body language and also in deduction and things like that. Always observe more than less. So yeah. Let's see. Observing processing expressions. Yeah, I was thinking that. Can you please tell? Yeah. Ooh, the differentiation between male and female handwriting. That's something that's another series that I'm going to go over because um, generally, this is definitely so far from a scientific rule, but generally, it is the stereotype is that gals have neater handwriting, guys don't. It's not necessarily true. What I have seen more so though is that gals have more artistically designed handwriting, more curves, more trail offs, things like that, and guys don't. That also being said, though, that is still so far from actual scientific um, evidence and proof that those are the defining lines between the two. I have a lot to do, like a lot of study to do and a lot of prep to do before I can give a really great answer on that. And I'm not something that I've learned over the years of running this channel is that if I don't know something, I'm definitely not going to blow the smoke in your face and pretend that I do. So the stuff that I am telling you, it's the stuff that I've studied and that I know about. And the stuff that I'm not telling you is because I don't feel prepared enough to be able to give you the answer that you're looking for. I hope that makes sense. Details. Cool. Good approach on your mind palace there, Zelia. Seems note the impossible cultural biases. Yep, that's what I think. There's nothing. There's everything. I confess I want to read the titles of books by whenever they show up in pictures. Here. Good, yeah, personally. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading. I know this is a riveting part of the stream, is me just sitting here reading. Let's see here. Fold your arms when thinking. A lot of people do, and so that's something that you just have to keep in mind. Do you think the flourishes and pretty touches in women's handwriting is expression how women are expected to be in pretty and creative, or is it automatically determined outcome? Um, that that's interesting. that you bring that up, because there's definitely going to be some cultural influence. There's always just a cultural influence. We are always being influenced by everything around us, whether or not we notice it or want to be. Um, I think that here's the thing. So, from what I've seen, is I know that, for instance, my wife, she has extremely uh, decorative. I'll just say it as decorative handwriting. And I know for a fact that it's not because of the cultural bias of things. It's because that is 100% her personality and how she likes to write. Um, so, as a general rule, I I actually don't think there can be a general rule. Um, it's probably going to be more specific to the person, because I know that there's some girls, even girls that I work with now, that have just atrocious handwriting. Like it's bad. It's flowy, but it's just like I don't know how they can read it. Um, which is fine. Like great handwriting is great handwriting. So, and I know some guys that have beautiful flowy handwriting there. Um, and I think it does also somewhat reflect a personality type, because somebody who is writing more in a flow artistic style probably tends to be more of that type of person. Like engineers, most of the time, have blocky handwriting. Most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. And artists have flowy handwriting most of the time, but not all the time. So it could be determined by the culture. It could be determined by the idea that gals are supposed to be more flowy and stuff. But I also don't think that that is everything that it has to do with it. So that's my 2 cents for now. Oh boy, hold on. Huh. That's something that I enjoy. Real quick, here's Sadana is what I'm gonna pronounce this as. Can you tell me if and Alexander, I'll get back to your question in a second. Can you tell me if different types of footsteps are differentiate or can be differentiated, like who is female and who is male? To an extent, but that all of that heavily relies on the person's weight and health conditions and so on and so forth. Um, but you could tell by listening the healthiness of a stride if the footsteps are even, and you could distinguish the heel to toe roll or walk. Then that means that they're walking healthily, and if it's not like an abnormal beat to where you can hear a limp and they're not sliding their feet, so on and so forth, and that's something that you could kind of hear. But male to female styles of shoes are still going to be pretty helpful. Like if it's a running shoe, it's going to be hard to say. You can listen and hear if a person's like more light in frame, which could be a gal or it could just be a smaller guy. So there's a lot that can go into that, and that's actually something that I've thought about a good bit, and I've been toying with the idea of doing a series on as well, but I'm not sure. Oh, let's see. Graphology. Yes, graphology is interesting. I don't believe that it's a 100% science, but I do think it's interesting. Um, I think that there is some weight to it because there has been some evidence to it. I don't believe that it's, like I said, a scientific law. For instance, I'm very artistic. I enjoy drawing, painting. I've done sculpting. I've done all the things. I'm a cinematographer and videographer outside of normal work and everything like that. So, like, I enjoy art, but my handwriting is extremely blocky but very neat. So it seems to kind of contradict those things as well. But yeah, Graphology's cool, and that's something that I want to look more into as well. Let's see. Out of curiosity, what were you trying to gain from? What were you trying to gain from studying observation? Um, what I was trying to gain originally for specifically body language was that I wanted to gain the ability to know if I was being lied to by someone. Because I had been lied to a good number of times, and I was just unaware of the signs and the evidence of that, and I know that they were there because I just know now that they were there. Um, and that was one of the big initial pushes, is that I didn't want to be lied to again without me knowing about it. And then beyond that, it turned into just kind of like an obsessive passion for me. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the thought of it. I enjoy everything centered around it. And then the deduction and things like that. I don't like to be taken by surprise at all. If something's happening, I want to know that it's going to be happening. Um, so that's kind of that as well. But that's what got me started in it. I hope that makes sense. Let's see here. I have a feeling that most people here are book lovers. Most people here are going to be book lovers. Most people here are guaranteed introverts, though. Most. No, I haven't. Any people would change their height. So it's interesting, Grey Wolf Ember. I have personally changed my writing style 5 times um, over the years. Now, so it started with like small things, like because when you first learn to write, I don't know if you did, but I had to learn cursive, stuff like that. So that was heavily influenced in how I wrote some of the printing letters. I only print now. I don't bother with the cursive side of things because I just don't need it. I know how to write it, but I don't need it, and it's not as pretty as it could be. Um, but I then changed how I did like my A's, because I did the A like where you go and you write an A kind of thing. So the circle and the line onto the side, and then I changed that to where I did like an A, to where like the one that you would see uh, typed out, the one that has the tail over the top, and then I changed some other characteristics of the writing to where instead of doing like, say when you do a lowercase d and you write just kind of all in one deal, so it would be more like that. I switched that to where it would be 2 different separate lines, and that made it a little bit more blocked and formatted. And then, what was the other one? Maybe I only changed it 4 times. Because now where I'm at now is that I write in only caps, so all caps, and it makes it extremely uniform and formatted and whatnot. So people can change their handwriting, and it's weird, but I haven't done it like situationally too much, unless I have to write my email. I hate writing my email because it's all lowercase, and I've been writing in uppercase for so many years now that I don't like doing lowercase anymore. But it's funny. Let's see. Oh my. Men and women wear different styles of shoes, leaving a different shoe print. That's true. You could look at it that way. Um, Hello. What would you recommend for starting out? I've got books reading through recommendations on your channel. Art deduction and awareness. So Grey Wolf Ember, if you're looking into body language, that stuff, anything by Paul Ekman is going to be great for the face. The definitive book of body language is going to be great for the body, along with what everybody is saying is also going to be great for the body. If you're looking for deduction style things, the one that I know for sure is by, what is it, Maria Konnikova, something like that. And yeah, that's the mastermind one, thinking like Sherlock or something like that. And then Monographs by Ben Cardle. Those are all ones, and it looks like what everybody's saying, definitive book of body language, Monographs, and Mastermind. So you have those 4, which that's great. Another one that you could add to that is going to be the Ellipsis Manual by Chase Hughes. It has a more scientific approach to uh, body language in part of it. And then if you were wanting to look beyond just the observation of body language and deduction and maybe into some more of the intuition side of things, or to the verbal seeking after truth kind of things, then you can look into, what was it called? You Could Read Anyone, I think it is. I just read it a little bit ago, just a second here. You Can Read Anyone. Is that it? Yeah, so it's called You Could Read Anyone. It's by David J. Lieberman. The thing underneath it, the little like subtitle, is Never Be Fooled, Lied to, or Taken Advantage of Again. This is a way to make it to where your observational skills can be used more easily via verbal, the laying of a verbal base. So setting up a person to be able to make it to where you could see whether or not they're lying about something or something like that. So that's a good one. If you're wanting to know more about like things with, I don't know, the intuition side of things, reading books like Mind Reader by Leo Suchard is good. This other one that I'm reading is called Psychic Intuition, and it's by this lady who she started studying this to find out, and so on and so forth. And so there's that. But there's a lot of books that you can read. Right now, I ordered one by Darren Brown called Tricks of the Mind. I ordered one by Mark Salem. I can't remember the title of that. Also, Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. That one is based around intuition. All these things are kind of in that realm that you're looking at. I've heard yeah. There are certain videos but are there certain videos I should look at? I would suggest looking at some of Ben Cardle's things. I am actually having great trouble tracking down videos that are actually like informational for me, because I don't know, like I just can't find them in what I'm looking for. Kind of like me and Jordan and a couple other people are the only ones that are doing these things. So finding other videos for it is actually really hard, which is frustrating, just a little bit. Nice background though. Yeah, I know, right? Pretty fancy. I love that particle board. Situational awareness as a book category. What are your thoughts on the accuracy of the Myers-Briggs 16 types? This one is more personality based. What are your thoughts on the accuracy of the Myers-Briggs 16 types personality test? I think that due to just logical progression, since it asks as many questions as it has, it's guaranteed to have a certain level of accuracy, and then I believe that it's also then filled in around with various applicable Barnum statements. So once you find out if, for instance, if I asked you, hey, do you like hanging out in crowds? And you say no, then that already can turn me towards the fact that you're probably going to be more introverted than extroverted, because extroverted doesn't mind crowds as much as introverted. It's not necessarily true, but you're probably going to be more introverted. And if I ask you, are you messy or organized? Then that will be like, okay, well, then if they answer that, then they could be introverted and messy. And so, like, through the questions that it asks, it does definitely provide a more accurate Barnum statement, but they're still heavily based off of Barnum statements. I like them because it does give me a little bit of a baseline to work with people, and also for like things like mentalistic and psychic readings, cold readings really, then you could use those kind of statements to be able to better estimate or talk to the person that that you received it from or that you're looking at. So I hope that makes sense. What music are you into? What music am I into? Really depends. If I'm reading, I like anything from just like classical music to chill step. Those are like that's the range that I like to read in. If I am playing music like with guitar, then I'll play more folk music, or I'll take various styles of music and turn them into a folk song because that's easier to play on guitar and it fits my voice fairly well. If I'm drumming, it will vary everywhere from pop to rock and roll. If I am in the mood, I can enjoy some opera, not a big fan of, and some country, but not a big fan of. So that's kind of it. Another good better seeing what others don't. Remarkable gain insight figure. Awesome. Another good book. Yeah. Hey, look at that. An extroverted observer. Yay! There's a few of you, but most of us here are pretty quiet and introverted. Let's see here. I alternate between architectural hand, all caps, but small, and cursive. Nice. That's cool. Yeah. No, I definitely do the all caps thing all the time. Unless I'm trying to be fancy, and then I'll try my hand at cursive. But yeah. I Can Read You Like a Book by Gregory. It's a book I've read. It's pretty good. Okay. Well, everyone, I have to go. My to-do list. Here, hang out with all the great minds here. Look forward to doing this again. I'll see you around. Have a good time on your to-do list. And yeah, thank you for hanging out. Let's see here. This is kind of a random question, but how to schedule your day to effectively study different subjects. I have been having trouble balancing my studies, which are mostly Spanish and art. Okay, so Spanish and art. If you're speaking with just these two things specifically in mind, then art, I would study later on in the day if I were you, when your brain's a little bit more tired. As it gets more tired, it becomes more expressive. Not too tired. If you're exhausted, then it'll become really expressive into where you might, hallucinate and stuff like that, which, I don't know, that could be cool for art. But artistically speaking, nighttime is going to do a little bit better for people because that's when your brain's just more loose because it's more tired. So stick to art in the evening / night, and then the language side of things, I would do that earlier because it requires a little bit more of your conscious effort to learn. That's how I handled it in school, and it worked quite well for me. But if you're looking for more than that, like different studies, if you have more studies than just those, then being able to balance those out is just a matter of how you want to do your timing. Because it is all going to come down to timing. Like, you can spend chunks of time of however long you need to. And you could do it by time, to where, like, okay, so I'm going to study language for an hour, and then I'm going to study art for an hour, and then I'm going to study, I don't know, math for an hour, and so on and so forth. And you could do it blocked that way. Or you could do it by, like, actual subject matter itself in the book. So I'm going to study this list of words until I feel like I have those down. And then I'm going to switch over here and study the concept of empty spaces in art or something like that. Until I feel like I've got that concept down. You could go that way, which that one's a little bit more hectic because it relies on you. So it really depends on what you would like to do, if that makes sense. That's how I handled it anyways. Let's see. Thanks, bye. Speaking of videos, I've been thinking of collecting some examples and random videos of where people display a certain type of emotion. Has anyone done that? Dragon, I assume? Dragon? DB, I'll just call you that. Speaking of videos, I've been thinking of collecting some examples of random videos where people display certain types of emotion. Has anyone done that? For most of my videos, I'll actually throw in like the B-roll segments of things where I'll try to find people displaying certain emotions. And the biggest issue that I'm running into is finding people displaying genuine certain emotions in a way that is able to be educational for people. If you're wanting to do it yourself, that's totally cool. I will continue to do it. But if you want to do it yourself, then you can. Some sources that I find that are good for knowledge sake is interviews, not specifically only like political, because political you basically it's almost guaranteed at one point in the interview they're lying. So what you're going to see is going to be a little bit twisted. But if you can find interviews between, like a reporter and a normal person that isn't, doesn't have a whole lot of stake to lose, then you can expect to find more genuine expressions and micro expressions and gestures and things like that. So if you're wanting to do it, that's where I've ended up turning to for a lot of mine. But then, I don't know. It's all going to be iffy because a lot of the stuff that you find on the internet is going to be forced anyways. So it's up to you. Takes a little bit of wading through, but you can do it, yeah. Please tell me how to differentiate between male and female footprints. Size is going to have some to do with it, a little bit, but size isn't a hard line between the two because I know there are some gals that have larger footprints than I do. Depth isn't going to do it much either because weight is variable between the two as well. There are guys that are heavier than gals, and there are gals that are heavier than guys, and lighter. Like, as far as I know, from my knowledge on it, which my knowledge isn't deep on footprints, it's going to be hard to be able to tell which one's which. Say if it's a shoe, you might luck out, and you could see the imprint of the brand on the shoe, and then you could be able to tell what brand that is and research that to see if that's a predominantly male or female brand. Um, Obviously, if it's like a high heel, then it's going to look differently. The style of shoe could be a determining factor, but then there are some gals that wear like tennis shoes are almost identical regardless. So there's a lot that are similar or interchangeable regardless of which direction. So I don't have enough knowledge on the matter to be able to give you a for sure answer on that. Sorry. Let's see here. My issue with the Myers-Briggs is that my answers change based on where I am and when I take the test. I'm usually NJ, but I've been called INFJ, ENFJ, INTJ, and ENTJ. Okay. That's true, and that's where some of it will fall short. Like, oh man. So I suppose my question would then be: is on those ones, because it looks like obviously N and J are the same. On those ones, are the I's and the E's and the T's and the F's usually fairly balanced in general? Because if I mean, even if it's like, I'm 15% introverted, then obviously you're less introverted than you are extroverted, and it's a pretty heavy extroverted balance. But if you're like, yeah, I'm 49% introverted and 51% extroverted, then it's going to be right there on the balance teetering point. So if it's like that, then I kind of see what you're saying. But if you're having that kind of trouble, the biggest goal is to like try to take a step back from your current situation and apply it to you as a total, even if you just think throughout like the past year of how you would have interacted throughout, the low points and the high points, and find the average, and that should be more accurate for you. But yeah, that whole odd part about it being able to switch around. Yeah, I had that issue back when I had my big personality switch around as well. Identify as a thinker, even though I'm more empathetic. I know that make decisions based on logic and rationality. Yes, so thinker rather than empathetic. Yeah, thinker rather than feeler. So this is something that's interesting. is that everybody's always talking about the left brain, right brain thing, and I don't believe in the left brain, brain thing so much, and nor do I support it. I don't think that it's wise for people to limit what sides of their brains are being used, so to speak, and not, and technically we use our whole brain all the time, regardless. But like a person who's like, I only want to think logically, is only using part of the full potential that their brain has. And that's something that I don't think is the most wise, because there's a reason that the creative side of the brain is there, and that it has been there. Either one, if you're religious, that it was created that way, or two, if you're evolutionistic, then it was like it remained there throughout the evolution process and it developed that way. So it would be unwise of us to shut that down or try to put it aside. And it's too bad, because the culture that we're in and the world that we're in today kind of like worships logic and reasoning, and it shuns the creative or intuitive side of things. But yeah, so I don't know. Don't feel bad if you are an a feeling person, quote unquote, on the Myers Briggs either. Let's see here. Are there any patterns to when you go live? I've missed a few and been quite sad, so I'd like to try and schedule them in a little bit more. No, there wasn't any patterns. I didn't even know that I was going to do a live stream today. I was just sitting here working and waiting on a response from a client. And I was like, oh, well, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and go live. And I also felt bad about being absent and unobserved. So in the future, I am going to like start scheduling them in like a day in advance, so I could pop up an alert so people can be like, oh, so I can see that this is going to happen, tomorrow at 9 or something like that. But as of right now, they're just kind of been spur of the moment times that I've hopped on to Hangout. Let's see here. Ba-ba-ba. I have a big problem whenever I observe someone for too long, they feel awkward. Yes. If you observe somebody for too long, it is awkward. Don't observe anybody for too long. The key for it is to, if you're wanting to, I don't endorse observing for long periods of time like that with one person, because then I don't know, I would feel awkward if somebody was looking at me for that long. If you do insist on doing that, um, find areas where either one, you could be outside and wear sunglasses so that they can't tell that you're looking at them, or have a book that you're reading. Vary your gaze around. Don't look only and solely at them. Allow yourself to branch out from the tunnel vision of observation of a single person, to where you're observing, 8 people across the room, and then you alternate in between those people so that it doesn't ever feel like for any of them that you're looking exclusively at them. Um, there's all sorts of ways to make it to where you don't come across as strange, because it is really strange to sit there and observe for too long, and that's something that I, as a person, have trouble with on the channel, is endorsing that kind of mindset. It's like, oh, well, I'm just observing, so I'm going to sit here and leer at this person for a while. And it would be easy for us to do because we're trying to learn, but at the same time, people that don't know that, or even people that do know that, it's weird for them. So we are studying humans, and humans don't like to be studied unless they're in the know of what's going on, because it's strange. So that's ways that you can get around that, for sure. But yeah, and then your later one is that you got slapped because of it, which is believable. Let's see here. Out of curiosity, have you read any rational fan fiction? I would recommend Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality for anyone who's interested. I haven't personally read any of those. To be fully honest, all of the reading that I do is centered around the channel. I don't have any reading that I do outside of it. And then if I do any reading outside of it, it's at night, and most of the time I'll actually just turn on an audiobook for a different book so that I can still have that creative outlet, but most of the time I'm learning for the channel, so I haven't done that personally. And no, I am not familiar with the Pomodoro technique. So see, there's that balance between extrovert and introvert. I get that. And I would be more introverted. I would say that I am probably, I think if I remember correctly, 65% introverted, but extroverted enough to where I can pull off being extroverted for a little bit. Like, for instance, I have to be extroverted for my job, and I hate it, but that's part of my job. And now I deduce that I'm probably more of an ambivert. Yeah. To answer your questions for the Myers-Briggs questions, F and T's are fairly close, weirdly enough. E's and I's vary a lot. I can either go extreme introvert or extreme extrovert. Okay. Most recent video example I could think of is podcast in car. Example for someone. Yeah, you can go and so I'm reading the most recent example I can think of the podcast in the car videos of Fuzi. That can be an example of someone that is in a manic state. Yeah, you could do that, those kind of things. But yeah, anytime that the person that's in control of the camera isn't the same person that's being filmed, like so there's a separate person who's filming, then that's going to be more realistic to what the person's actually feeling. And if you want to get an accurate estimate as to what a person's feeling, say on YouTube, don't look at any of their videos for it. Look at somebody else's videos of them. Then that will give you a clear sight of what they're like when they're not performing for a camera or acting in a certain way. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so super victory line again on the one with the feeling. This is a newer development for me, and very well stated in my opinion, because on our community here, on our community, since it's all centered around Sherlock and things like that, and people are always really raising up the idea of being like Sherlock and how he's purely rationalistic and reasoning. It is discouraging because nobody's really too much like that. There's some people that's how they're born and that's how they are, but then for other people, they then feel bad and they feel like they're functioning poorly because of the fact that they are more sensitive to stuff, or they're more emotionally swayed. And the situation with that is that while logic and reason is kind of transcendent above the emotional swaying of things, from what I'm reading, okay, so here, just real quick, to make this more clear, your brain makes roughly, like you are conscious of a certain amount of observations that you make, and then your brain makes an enormous number of observations beyond that you're not consciously aware of. And the number for that actually is you are aware of one observation towards every 1 million that your brain makes. So I hope that makes sense to you in light of things. And that's why things like intuition are interesting, because your brain picks up 1 million different observations that are around you, whether that's sensory of any of the senses, that would be sight, smell, taste, hearing, and the other senses that aren't as normally covered, and so on and so forth. And then we are only able to consciously process about one of those for every 1 million of them. And so with that intuition is reliant heavily on us not knowing consciously why we feel a certain way. There's not a reason, there's not a connect, there's not an evidence-based kind of system for it, so we're taught to ignore those feelings. Whereas in actual scientific terms, those feelings can oftentimes be based 100% off of observations that you have already made that you're not consciously aware of, but your subconscious is. That's why, for instance, say there's a situation where you walk into somewhere and you have a gut feeling that something's wrong with the situation, and then something can go wrong, or you leave. The reason for that is that you might have already picked up on something subconsciously where your brain was going crazy gathering this information, and you have that feeling that something's going to go wrong, and that feeling's based off the fact that your entire gastro system down there has more neurons than your brain has. So you have that feeling, the butterflies in your stomach, the nervousness, the anger, everything is centered around down here. So you have that feeling, and it's something that's not logically or rationally explained. It's just there. And so being ashamed of the fact that your brain might have that capability of doing that is something that is more limiting than it is positive, because you could walk into a situation and feel bad about it and then ignore that, and then something could go bad and you'd be like, well, it was just going to go bad anyways. Or you could accept the fact that your brain may have already picked that up, and that your feeling was your brain telling you something's going to go wrong, and you didn't pay attention to it. So don't be ashamed of the feeling, and that's something that I'm going to really start gearing our community towards, is that in order for a person to function as optimally as they can, they've got to use everything that their brain has to it. Everything, and that includes the feelings, and that includes the intuitive side of things, and that includes the logic and the rationality, and there has to be a balance, but there should never be a push 100% towards the other side. And I feel like that's more necessary than I ever have before, and that's thanks to the study that I've been doing and the evidence that I've seen therein. So I hope that that does encourage you a little bit, because it should be encouraging, because it does suck to think to yourself, well, I'm not doing as good as I can be because I didn't look at this as rationally as I could have. I hope that that makes some sense for you and is some encouragement for you. False. Why does most of my observation come wrong or false? Plus, how can I rectify that? Practice will definitely do it. If you've observed something and you draw a conclusion, practice. Remember what you saw to get the conclusion that you saw, um, and and make sure that you're observing in enough context. That one's always going to assure that uh, you're more likely to be accurate in your observations. And then honestly, just don't be afraid to fail. If you're failing, that's okay. Like if you're failing at stuff, that is okay, because that means that you're at least checking, and you've found out that the way that you had seen it and gone about it isn't wrong. And the famous saying goes, it's not that I did something wrong however many times, it's that I found out however many times how not to do something. And it's a different mindset, if that makes sense. Let's see here. I'm kicking myself for not bookmarking. Yeah, for not bookmarking those videos. Yeah. Well, hey, now you know. There's all the time in the world to work with now. In the story of the red-handed lady, how did Sherlock see the elbow of the man wearing the full sleeve coat? Not sure. Not sure how we saw the elbow of the man wearing the full sleeve coat. Why did you complete the Sherlock Holmes and the Devil's Daughter series? I might. I didn't complete it because I felt that people weren't as interested in it as they were in the other content, which is okay, because this wasn't ever a gaming channel or a entertainment channel like I was trying to force it to be. And I might complete it, either here, or I'll complete it over at my other channel where it is more gaming based and stuff like that. Let's see here. Love your work. Keep it up. Thank you. Dropping in to recommend a book I've read. Explain The Gift of Fear by Gavin De Becker. Okay. I will keep that in mind as well for my own personal reading. To be sure, it's heavily leaning towards women who can use their gut feelings to protect themselves, and a lot of practical tips. Interesting story on that is that there is no scientific evidence that women are more intuitive than men, until they believe that they are. And intuition is only going to go as far as you actually accept it to go. So if you don't think that you're going to have any intuitive ability, then you're not going to have any intuitive ability, because you're literally telling that part of your brain, I'm not going to listen to you. So women, it's always said that they're more intuitive than guys, and they're not. They're not. They're equally intuitive or not intuitive. There's no bias until women are reminded of that stereotype, and then women will begin to believe, hey, this stereotype's here, it must be true, and then they will be. But if they're not reminded of that, if they weren't told that, then it's an even playing ground, which is fantastic. I think that's actually brilliant. I really, really like the even playing ground idea. So, if you read that book, I haven't read it. Hopefully, it's not playing into that idea, that stereotype, that false stereotype that women are more intuitive. I'm going to drop out too. Thanks for the stream. I'll see you around. And then do it discreetly. Yep. And then goodbye. I have to eat dinner. I live in India. And my favorite detective is Sergeant Google. Great character. Okay. Alrighty. Well, and honestly, it looks like a lot of people are headed out here. So that's okay. I will probably also head out. There's only a few of us left here. If you're still here, thank you for hanging out. But I'm going to go ahead and start doing some study for the ring video, since my client still hasn't gotten back to me. I'm going to do some study and be productive and turn off my phone, because it gets way overheated, like way overheated when I do these streams. But it was a really good time hanging out. I hope that everybody had a good time today. I do appreciate you all coming and hanging out and chatting, and I'm glad that I was able to hopefully answer some questions and at least get to interact with you a little bit. But I do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day,